in Britain, Sir Edwin Landseer. One of the most celebrated artists of the Victorian age, Landseer was a household name in his day. Born in 1802, his skill at painting animals brought him fame and fortune. His majestic work, The Monarch of the Glen, is one of the most recognizable images of the 19th century. And Landseer's lion sculptures still sit proudly in Trafalgar Square. He was a favourite of Queen Victoria and painted the royal family and their many pets throughout his life. Landseer's extraordinary ability to capture the animal kingdom captivated the nation. Printed reproductions of his work increased his popularity, which is why I recognise the composition in Cathy's picture. This famous scene appeared in numerous prints hanging in Victorian homes across Britain.
So tell us the story of how you came by it then.
Well, it was an auction at Chancellor's in Ascot in the Silver Ring, about 30-odd years ago.
And that's at the racecourse?
Yes, at the racecourse. And when I saw the grey horse, I just felt, although I've never ever got emotional looking at a painting before, but I thought, oh dear, dear, you know, I just stood feeling I was going to cry. It was like he was telling the story of the horrors of war, and I have a love of horses, and so inwardly I made a promise to the grey horse that he would come home with me no matter what.
I mean, I have to say, I've got a grey horse actually, and seeing that, knowing how frightened horses can be and what it must have been like in war for them. Yeah, I absolutely get how you responded so emotionally to this painting. I can feel it actually, so you're making me feel very much the same.
So I'm curious about the auction. How was it catalogued to begin with? Was there any reference to Landseer?
No, there was nothing about Landseer. It was just an unknown painting.
The auction catalogue from 1988 lists the painting as a 19th century oil seen after a battle with an estimate of £400 to £600. Determined to take the picture home with her, Cathy bid £720. It was only recently that Cathy's son spotted the scene in their picture had been famously painted by Landseer. The original work was called Time of War, but intriguingly, it is thought to be lost.
It was at the Tate Gallery in London in the 1920s, the early part of the century. The Thames had broken its banks and the Tate was flooded, and it was supposedly lost in the flood.
The Thames flood of 1928 was a tragic event. People lost their lives and thousands were left homeless. The lower galleries of the Tate were flooded and hundreds of national treasures were damaged or lost. Landseer's Time of War was one of them.
So how could it possibly end up here then?
Well, someone could have helped rescue it, and who knows after that what happened.
So I suppose the big question is, have you bought a copy, which is quite possible, or could you have in fact stumbled upon the lost picture, the picture that was considered gone in the flood, in which case, well, it's got condition issues, clearly, which are going to hold it back, but I could see it making, I don't know, £80,000, possibly more. But just as important, you would have recovered a really significant work by a major British artist that was thought lost for getting on for a century.
I actually think it is. But, you know, that's just my opinion. It's so well painted. And, of course, I would love it to be a Landseer.
I'm keen to get the investigation underway by taking a closer look at the physical evidence, the painting itself. Pushing out through all of this mayhem are areas of real beauty. And I found myself sort of drawn like a moth into the smoky area of this grey horse's head on the left. I mean, what a phenomenal piece of painting that is. There's a sort of anatomical understanding going on. And look at the way the nose is done, the soft tissue. You know, you do feel that you could press it and it would give in the same way that the soft nose of a horse would. I mean, unquestionably, something has happened to this picture. It's been traumatized at some point in its life. And if you look into the flank of the central horse, which is, after all, the main part of the composition, you can't really read it. Your eye bounces off it. The paint is opaque. It's sort of milky in areas. Could it be that this is flood damage? And if so, that might take us closer to the possibility that this is one and the same picture that was in the Tate in the flood.
Kathy bought the picture all those years ago with her ex-husband, Barry. They're still good friends, and she'd like him to be part of the investigation. So we're calling him in the States.
Barry, very nice to see you. Thanks for joining us from Florida.
Nice to be with you.
And this is a bit of a fake or fortune first, because we are reuniting you and Kathy. You've been divorced for 30 years or so. And, of course, you're separated by the Atlantic as well. And you've come together to investigate this painting. So, I mean, we're now looking at it to see if it could be a work by Edwin Landseer. Was that something that had ever crossed your mind, that it could be by one of the greats of the Victorian era?
I have to say the answer is no. It had never crossed my mind. We both liked the painting, and that was it.
So if we do manage to find out the painting is by Landseer, what would that mean to you?
Well, it would mean, I think, to both of us, certainly to me, that we had great taste, in the artwork. I'll be delighted.
Well, we'll certainly do our best. Speak to you again soon, Barry. Thanks so much.
Okay, well, thank you.
Bye.
I've come to Edinburgh on the trail of Landseer. I want to see how Kathy and Barry's picture